I've been trying to think of what to say to all of you. And honestly, I have nothing written. And the reason is because every night you stand in front of a camera, and while the anchors, they have to read something. We don't get a script. So I'm never writing anything. Therefore, I'm just going to stand here and talk. So if I talk too much, cut me off. I have no problem with that. I grew up in northeastern Connecticut, but fairly close by to this area. So I have an idea of what you're going through growing up here, weather-wise. And now I have a son who's about to start 7th grade next year. So I think I'm about the same age as a lot of the parents here, give or take a couple of years. So I might have a bit of an idea of what you're going through, and maybe you can help me and tell me what I'm about to go through too with junior high. I also, believe it or not, once went to junior high, children. So I have an idea of that perspective as well. So I'm thinking, well, who spoke to us back then, and what did they tell me that guided me along my way? What could I possibly tell these young people? And honestly, I have no idea who that was. Couldn't remember it to save my life. So perhaps it wasn't all that memorable. But then again, it was 26 years ago. 1983. How many parents remember 1983? Don't lie. Well, in case you don't remember, I did happen to write a couple of notes, just not a speech. So for all of you children who don't remember 1983, stamps were 20 cents. A home cost about $90,000. Can't buy much these days of that, can you? Eggs, 85 cents for a dozen. Gas, $1.24 a gallon. Best movie of the year, so say the critics, Return of the Jedi. Perhaps you've heard of it. That was supposed to be the end of the Star Wars trilogy. Little did we know, there was a sixth trilogy. Proper word now? Perhaps a teacher can correct that. But there were 6 of them now. You ever hear of Dustin Pedroia and Jacoby Ellsbury? They were born 1983. Chicken McNuggets, invented 1983. That's right, parents. Microsoft Word first came out in 1983. Microsoft itself was just really getting going as far as making a name for itself in the world. First African American in space, 1983. Guy by the name of Guy Bluford. Also the first American woman in space, Sally Ride, 1983, both up in the Challenger shuttle. So appropriate that you had this public last year, I suppose. So, what can I tell you from all of this? Well, simply this. You are going to do some amazing things. You see, in 1983, a company called Apple Computer released something called the Apple Lisa computer. You probably never heard of it, but you've heard of Macintosh, right? Well, the Apple Lisa computer was sold to the people, anybody wanted to buy it, as long as you had $9,995. That's how much it cost. Now convert that to today's dollars, it cost you about $22,000 to buy an Apple computer back then. So not many people had them. What were you getting for $22,000 in today's money? You're getting a hard drive of 10 megabytes. This here has 8 gigabytes. Now you children know what that is, more than us adults do. Bottom line is about 4 songs on here that'll fill up one of those old Apple computers that cost $10,000 in the day and $22,000 in today. That's what we're dealing with today. Which one of you is going to be the next Steve Jobs, the next CEO of a computer company and do something like that? I'll bet one of you will. By the way, parents, MASH was the biggest TV show back in 1983. The final MASH episode happened back then. Perhaps some of you stayed up and watched it. Now, from computers, personal computers, of course, gaming's been a big thing. Back then, we were just finishing the Atari craze, and the rich kids had a television. Us poor kids had Atari. And the real poor kids, like myself, had the Sears version of Atari. That you get out of that big wish book that you would get every winter. Your parents remember that, right? See, children, we used to get these big wish books, and it had like thousands of pages of what do you want, and you'd go through and you'd circle everything you want to, and get like none of it, but you would Well, in 1983, there was this thing invented in Japan called Nintendo. And it wasn't until 1984 that it would come to this country. So in 1983, Nintendo was on the verge of being the savior of the gaming industry because people were kind of sick of Atari and television, and computers were now coming along. And people wanted more than just gaming systems, so things like the Commodore 64 would come along, an old personal computer. Things that you don't know about, but things that you're going to take without even knowing it, take the bones of and improve in the future. Nowadays, you listen to music in a little portable device. In 1983, CDs were the rage. They were supplanting albums, vinyl records, as the next big thing with music. Now, digital music. Just little files you put on an MP3 player or a computer. What are you going to do to make it even better? Somebody will come up with a better idea. Video. If you had a VHS player back then, a VCR, whoa, you were cool. DVDs can come along to a lot later, and now Blu-ray DVDs, and something else in the future? Probably. Undoubtedly. As far as television was concerned, MTV was huge. They actually played videos on MTV back then. It was actually music on music television. The M stands for music, in case you weren't aware of that. Nowadays, you're watching reality shows more on MTV than anything else. And I know there are a few videos still, but back then, that's all it was, wall to wall. December 1983, the biggest music video of all time hit the airwaves. You know what that was? Thriller. That's right. A 24-year-old Michael Jackson putting werewolf makeup on and running around for 8 minutes on a TV screen, or 15 minutes, I don't remember anymore. This was the biggest thing. That's what was the thing to watch on television then. That was the future of music, or so we thought. And then it became something totally different. And Michael Jackson's not really doing much anymore, but other people, other entertainers have come along and really changed the whole thing. Another person who was just coming out in 1983 and big was a woman named Madonna. Ever hear of her? One of you, the next Madonna? The parents are like, come on. Not my little daughter, no way. All right, they'll just be Britney Spears. So you young men and women are going to do big things. There's no question about it. So then I look back at this list and I'm thinking, so what's the biggest thing I can tell you from all of this? Outside of a bunch of statistics. I think that really, when you think about where we've come in 26 years, that's amazing. Where we've come in just the last decade is amazing. We're now doing high definition television as of last week at Fox 25. That's why I still have this crazy makeup on, in case you're wondering. Coming from doing the 5 o'clock newscast today. And tonight we'll be on TV again, and anybody who wants to watch it can watch it. Anybody who doesn't. You have all that power. And now you can sit at home and you can work on your computer and have the TV on and come up with the next big idea. The world's changed so dramatically. So dramatically since 1983. My 8th grade graduation, I went home and I got the newest music player too. It was about this big. Called them boom boxes. And I remember I couldn't carry it around like this, which was the cool thing to do because it was too heavy. So my best friend, Carlos Sanchez, and I used to carry it like this. And we were rocking Bon Jovi with that that big boom box. I think that all of you have it in you to do the next big thing. These people probably didn't expect it. After all, one I didn't mention, in 1983, there was an 18-year-old guy at the University of Texas in Austin who was actually selling computers, making his own computers and selling them to his classmates in college. You may have heard of it. His name was Michael Dell. Dell Computers came out of that. Just making things in a dorm room. Imagine what you can do and what you're going to do in the next 26 years, let alone 26 years. How about the next decade, the next 2 decades? You're off to high school and then off to college. Most of you, many of you, I certainly hope, have that opportunity to do that. These years are wonderful, wonderful times. And there are days I wish I could go back and enjoy it again from a different perspective. But, as was mentioned to you already, just live in it now and enjoy it. And I think you'll find when you look back, you will remember these people, you'll remember these times. I remember 8th grade, after all. It was Mr. Burton, my 8th grade science teacher, who first taught us about weather. He had us doing weather forecasts on the morning announcements. You still do morning announcements? We used to do the weather forecasts. You know what we would do, really? We would sit home and watch a Today Show and write down whatever Lord Scott would say. And then come in and tell everybody what it was. But that was the beginning of actually watching. We thought we were really fooling the teachers, but of course they knew we would do that. We're not going to forecast the weather. But what it did is got us interested, got us watching it, and from there we learned more about it from our science teachers. So I remember Mr. Burton. I remember Mrs. LaChance, my reading teacher, who now teaches in the Dudley school system. I go and talk to her class every single year. I remember Mrs. Soquette, the math teacher and baseball coach, who to this day when I see him always says, "You were the most nervous pitcher I ever coached in my life." And that's why I'm doing weather instead of baseball.